Hello, this is Mr. Patrick Hickey, and this is a presentation by my third year English class on the key moments and quotes from Mildred D. Taylor's novel Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry.
At the beginning of this book, we meet the Logan children who are walking to school. There are four of them. Stacey, who is the oldest, Cassie, Christopher, John, and Littleman, who is very meticulous. We learn that the Logans own their land, unlike many black families in Mississippi. On their way, they meet up with TJ and Claude Avery. TJ is a very sly character. He tells them about the Berry burnings. He says that it was some white men. The Logans and the Avery children were walking along the bank when the Jefferson Davis school bus sped past, enveloping little men in a scarlet haze. The white children pressed against the window, laughing. When they reach the school, they enter the classroom and are given books. They were badly soiled and were only given to black children when they were in very poor condition. Little men protested and Cassie backed them up. They both get whipped as a result. We learn that Cassie eavesdrops a lot during the novel, and she does so when Miss Crocker complains to Mary Logan. Mary is a very good teacher and covers the book against Miss Crocker's will.
This key moment is important because it is the first time the reader sees the level of segregation in Mississippi in the 1930s. We learn that black children have to walk to school when white children take the bus. Not only do the black children have to walk, but they get splashed and get made fun of as the Jefferson Davis school bus passes. This is also an important key moment because we learn that the Board of Education are very racist. They gave the black children poor quality books and refer to them as Negras. Finally, this is an important key moment because we meet all the main characters in the novel: Cassie, Mary, David, Little Man, Christopher, John, Big Ma, and Stacey Logan. We also meet the Averys. This is why this is an important key moment.
The first key quote of this chapter is, "Little man turned around and watched saucer-eyed as the bus bore down on him, spewing clouds of red dust like a fire-breathing dragon." That is important because it is the first sign of racial abuse in the book. They do not know this yet. The second key quote of this chapter is, "September 1922, new, white. September 1923, excellent, white." And at the bottom, September 1933, very poor, Negra. This is the first sign of direct racism from the Board of Education in the book. This is important. This is why it's important. The third key quote of this chapter is, It will be easy enough for anyone to see whose responsibility it is, Daisy, by opening any 7th grade book, because tomorrow I'm going to mess them up too." This is important because it shows us how brave Mary Logan is. She is a protective teacher and will accept full responsibility for her actions. As long as the children are okay, she doesn't mind.
After Stacey went to the Wallace store, even though he was warned not to, Mary Logan takes the children to see Mr. Berry. Mr. Berry had been badly burnt after the Wallaces poured kerosene on him and lit him on fire. The Logan children were nervous about meeting the Berrys. Mrs. Berry was happy to see the Logan children. They saw what the Wallaces had done to Mr. Berry and vowed not to go back to the Wallace store again.
I think this is a very important key moment. Mary Logan wants to punish the children for going to the Wallace store. This is important because she wants the children to see how dangerous the Wallaces are, as they lit Mr. Berry and his nephews to a fire. Mary wants to teach the children a valuable lesson about how cruel the Wallaces are. She takes them to see Mr. Berry so they can see for themselves the damage that the Wallaces did to him. It also teaches the children about white people in general. They have learned a lot about racism. They are shocked by the way Mr. Berry looks and he cannot speak. It's an important key moment because the children learn never to go back to the Wallace store again. It opens their eyes to the real life, as up to now the children have been protected by their parents.
The key quotes are when Miss Berry says that Mr. Berry can't speak no more. This shows us how hurt he is. Taylor describes Mr. Berry. The face has no nose and the head no hair. The skin was scarred, burned, and the lips were wizened black, like charcoal. This shows us how badly the Wallaces have burned Mr. Berry. Mary Logan tells her children they poured kerosene over Mr. Berry and his nephews and lit them afire. This shows us how dangerous the Wallaces are.
Casey goes to Strawberry with Big Ma, Stacey and TJ. It's her first time going there. Casey, Stacey and TJ go into Mr. Barnett's mercantile. Mr. Barnett stops serving them to tint white people. Cassie tugs his arm to get his attention. Mr. Barnett roars at Cassie and makes her leave the store. Cassie leaves and runs into Lily and Jean. Lily and Jean wants Cassie to get off the footpath and apologise to her. Cassie refuses. Big Ma comes along and forces Cassie to apologise. This makes it the worst day of Cassie's life.
When Cassie goes to Strawberry is a very important key moment in the book, as it is Cassie's first time experiencing direct racism. Incidents that happened to her in Strawberry, such as being thrown out of the Barnett Mercantile by Mr. Barnett and being pushed off the pavement by Mr. Sims, also being made to apologise to Lily and Jean. These incidents are very important, as they are the first direct confrontations that help Cassie grow as a person and to mature from an innocent 13-year-old girl. This is why this moment in the novel is such a key moment.
There are three main key quotes from chapter 5. On page 94, Mr. Barnett racially abuses Cassie and roars, "Whose little nigger is this?" Cassie was very upset by this comment and roars back, "I ain't nobody's little nigger." These are two quotes that are very important. Another key quote in this chapter is when Cassie apologises to Lily and Jean. On page 97, Cassie says, "I'm sorry, Miss Lily and Jean." This is important because these two hate each other. Cassie was forced by Big Ma to apologise. Cassie was highly embarrassed.
Cassie was in Strawberry and she bumped into Lily and Jean on the sidewalk. She made Cassie apologise and then Mr. Sims threw her off the sidewalk and made her apologise again. Cassie was very angry and wanted revenge. She apologised to Lily and Jean again one day on the way to school. She took her books for her and started to suck up to her. Lily and Jean was delighted over this and she told Cassie all her secrets. One day when they were walking home from school, Cassie told Lily and Jean she had a surprise for her in the forest. They went in and Cassie threw Lily and Jean's books on the ground and she beat her up. She did not touch her face so she wouldn't leave any marks. She also told her if she told anyone she would tell all her friends her secrets about who she likes.
This key moment is important because it's Cassie's first-hand experience of racism. She didn't understand why she had to apologise and walk in the mud for bumping into Lily and Jean by accident. This moment is also very important because Cassie knew what to do to get revenge. She didn't want anyone to know about the fight, so she didn't hit Lily and Jean in the face. Cassie also made her apologise for what she and her father did to her in Strawberry.
The first key quote in chapter 8 is from Cassie. "Excuse me, Miss Lily and Jean, but I got a real nice surprise for you. Found it just the other day down the woods." This was Cassie's way of luring Lily and Jean into the woods out of sight. The second key quote is from Lily and Jean. When Cassie drops her books, Lily and Jean slaps her, so Cassie flailed into her. Cassie wanted Lily and Jean to apologise, but she said, "Ain't gonna apologise to no nigger." The third key quote is from Cassie. Lily and Jean threatens to tell her father about the fight, but Cassie said that if Lily and Jean told anyone about the fight, Cassie would tell all her secrets. Besides, if anyone ever did find out about this fight, he would be laughed clear up to Jackson.
In this key moment, Mary Logan loses her job. She loses her job because she failed TJ Avery on a test. Then TJ went down to the Wallace store and told them that she was a bad teacher and that she was teaching them things that weren't even in the book. Then Mr. Granger called to her class. He noticed the covers of the books pasted over. This gave him more reason to fire her. Then he does it right in front of Cassie. Cassie must have felt really bad for her mother as she knew the job was everything to her. It was all TJ's fault.
This key moment is very important as it shows the racism in a new way. Great Faith Elementary is a school for black children, yet there is no black person on the school board. This is very unfair as they have no one to represent them or even stand up for them. This chapter is also devastating to the Logans as we already know they are not well off and need the income from Mary's job. Now that she is fired, they will find it hard to get by, even though firing her was only an excuse. Caleb Wallace and Harlan Granger wanted to get back at her for shopping at Vicksburg. The end of this chapter is also a key moment as it is the ending of TJ and Stacey's friendship. We find out that TJ told the Wallaces Mary Logan failed him on purpose and that she is a bad teacher. TJ played a very big part in the firing of Mary Logan, which led to distancing himself even more from the Logans.
The first key quote is from Harlan Granger. He says, "Been hearing about your teaching, Mary, so as members of the school board, we thought we'd come by and learn something." This shows his sarcastic tone towards Mary Logan's teaching. The second key quote is also from Harlan Granger. He says, "Thought these books belonged to the county." This shows his disgust that Mary Logan pasted over the front cover. The third key quote is from Mary Logan. She says, "Because all that's in the book isn't true." This shows that she doesn't approve of some things said in the book and that she only teaches the truth.
One night in the summer, Mr. Avery and Mr. Lanier came to the Logans to inform David Logan not to buy anything from them on his next visit to Vicksburg. Plantation owners such as Harlan Grainer threatened to decrease pay and to put the farmers who are boycotting the Wallace store on a chain gang if they do not start shopping there again. Only 7 families continue to order goods from Vicksburg. Mary Logan feels that 7 people is not enough to hurt the Wallace store, but enough to rile them. But David Logan will not give up. So Mr. Morrison, Papa and Stacy set out on the next trip to Vicksburg together. While they were there, 2 boys were near the wagon. On the way home, the wheels of the wagon came off. Then they were ambushed. When Papa was repairing the wheels, a truck pulled up behind them. The Wallaces were driving the lorry and someone hopped out and fired a gunshot at David Logan. Jack the horse reared up, scared by the gunshot. Stacy couldn't hold the horse, so the wagon rolled over Papa's legs. Then Mr. Morrison picked up one of the men and threw him onto the ground. Then the other man arrived, aimed a gunshot at him, but missed L.T. Morrison. Mr. Morrison then broke Dewberry Wallace's back. David Logan broke his leg and had a head injury as a result of this incident.
I found this to be a very important key moment. It just shows how white people were with money. When Stacy said the Wallaces, I think, this shows us that they couldn't bear to see their customers shopping elsewhere. I also think the Wallaces are very greedy and arrogant people. They had to resort to violence when dealing with a problem. They also sabotaged the Logan's wagon. Stacy said, "I'd seen 2 boys near the wagon when they were in Vicksburg." Another reason I think this is a key moment is when David is immobilized. He can't work. Now that they can't work, he can't bring in the money for paying taxes and household bills.
There are 3 main quotes in this key moment. Stacy, "It's my fault, his leg's busted." Stacy feels guilty about his father's accident. He thinks he's to blame for it. Cassie, how did the wagon roll over it? How he get shot? Cassie blurted out angrily, plotting revenge against whoever dared hurt her father. Cassie is so angry at the men who put a bullet in her father's head. She feels it's her place to get revenge, yet she doesn't realize who and what she would be dealing with. Cassie, Stacy still in his wet, muddy clothes, said nothing else, and neither did the rest of us. All the questions had been answered, yet we feared. This shows how scared the Logan children were after the attack. It had a huge effect on Cassie as she wondered what would come next.
In this key moment, we see that T.J. Avery brings R.W. and Melvin Sims to the revival. The revival was a 7-day religious event that the black people would look forward to every year. The Logan children were standing in the church car park when they saw T.J. and the 2 Sims brothers walking up the road towards the church. They were all shocked to see this, as the revival was strictly for black people only. The Logan children then headed into the service, and they wondered would T.J. go with them or go to Strawberry at the Sims. T.J. went to Strawberry and disrespected all the black people. T.J., R.W. and Melvin broke into the Barnett Mercantile. When they were after breaking in, Jim Lee Barnett came down to check who was there. R.W. hit Jim Lee with the flat of the axe. Jim Lee then fell to the floor as if he was dead.
It's an important key moment because we see the consequences TJ faces becoming friends with racists like the Sims. TJ's tragedy is that he didn't appreciate his real friendship with Stacey. He wasn't clever enough to realise that R.W. and Melvin used him all along to steal the pearl-handled pistol.
In this key moment, we see many quotes from TJ and Cassie. The first key quote we see is when TJ says, "Everything I want they give me, because he really likes me. I'm their best friend." This is a very important quote because we see TJ's foolishness and how gullible he can be. He believes that the Sims are his best friends, but as we see later, TJ gets badly beaten by them. The second quote is from Cassie. TJ turns his back on us. Here we see TJ's betrayal of the Logans. As TJ rejected the Logans, he wasn't long returning for help when he got badly injured because he knew they were his true friends. The third quote is from Mrs. Barnett. "You niggers done killed Jim Lee." This is a very important quote as TJ was blamed for killing Mr. Barnett, all because he listened and became friends with the Sims.
At the end of the novel, it is clear to us that as bad as things were between the black and white races, it didn't make a difference when a common enemy arises. David Logan lights his crop on fire. to save himself, Mr. Morrison, and TJ from being killed. He makes it look like it was a flash of lightning that hit his crop on fire, so that he does not get in trouble. When the crops are alight, the black and white people help to put out the fire. At the very end of the novel, it is clear to us that TJ Avery will never be seen by his family again. This is a very upsetting moment for the reader.
The key moment is very important. It leads up to the tragic end of the novel. The conclusion of Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry also shows hope for the end of racism in Mississippi. The key moment shows black and white people working together in a time of crisis. This shows hope as we see that they can work together to accomplish goals for the greater good.
The key quotes in the conclusion of the novel. On page 209, Mary Logan says, "It'll burn everything from here till Strawberry." This informs the reader how dangerous the fire could be and adds fear and tension. On page 210, Mary Logan says, "The fire's got to be stopped. The whole community can put their differences aside and work to save the land. The land is the most important thing the Logans own." On page 220, Cassie says, "I cried for TJ and the land." Cassie has matured and realised the dangers TJ will face and that the key to our survival is the land.